Let me tell you something I've learned the hard way. Life doesn't promise you 90 years. It doesn't even promise you 70. I've seen men and women, full of dreams and laughter, fall short of 70. And I've seen others, quiet and steady, live past 90 with their minds sharp and backs straighter than folks half their age. You might wonder why that happens. I've wondered that too. I've watched it unfold all around me for decades. And I'll be honest. It's not about luck. It's not about having better doctors or more money in the bank. It's something deeper. Something most people ignore until it's too late. You see, when I was younger, I thought getting old was just about staying away from the hospital and keeping your weight down. But I've seen folks who ate well, exercised daily, and still passed away too soon. I've also seen others who didn't do everything right, yet kept going strong into their 80s and 90s. What I realized is that the difference often comes down to something inside. A kind of stubbornness to live. A fire that doesn't go out just because the hair turns gray and the body starts to creak. But that fire, it doesn't start when you turn 60 or 70. It's something you build over time. With every choice you make. Every morning you get up when you could have stayed in bed. Every time you forgive instead of letting bitterness fester. That stuff builds strength that doesn't show up in your muscles. But it shows up when you hit those later years. I remember my old neighbor, Joe. He died at 68. Heart attack. He was fit. Ate like a rabbit. Walked every morning. But he carried this bitterness in him. Life hadn't gone how he wanted. He held on to regrets like they were treasures. Never forgave his brother. Didn't talk to his daughter for over 20 years. His heart was tired long before it gave out. I don't think it was clogged arteries that took him. I think it was the weight he carried inside. And then there's my Aunt Clara. She's 92 now. Still laughs like a teenager. Lives alone. Grows her own vegetables. Her hands are crooked with arthritis, but she never complains. She lost her husband 50 years ago. Buried 2 of her children. But she never let the pain turn her cold. She grieved. She cried plenty. But then she got up. Watered her garden. Baked cookies for the neighbors. Loved every person who walked through her door. I asked her once how she stayed so strong. She looked at me with those bright eyes and said, "I never let my heart close." That stuck with me. Because I've seen that truth play out over and over. There's something else too. A lot of people give up before their time. Not all at once. It's small things. They stop going outside because it's too cold or too hot. They stop learning because they think old dogs can't learn new tricks. They stop making new friends because the old ones are gone. They stop fighting for joy because sadness feels safer. And that's how it happens. They die a little each day. Not in their bodies, but in their spirit. And once the spirit goes, the body follows. I've watched it happen. And it breaks my heart every time. But I've also seen the opposite. I've seen men in their 80s start painting. Women in their 70s travel the world. Folks who had nothing left to prove, still waking up curious. Still falling in love with life, even if it's just with the way the sunlight hits the kitchen floor. Those are the ones who make it past 90. Not because they fought death, but because they kept choosing life. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying people die young because they're weak. Life isn't fair. Sometimes illness strikes no matter what you do. I've buried friends who were stronger and kinder than me. But even then, I could see the difference. Some went out fighting. Others just let go too early. And the difference was usually in how they lived, not just how they died. You might think it's about staying active. And yes, movement matters. The body needs to move. But it's not just about walking laps or lifting weights. It's about having a reason to move. A purpose. Maybe it's watching your grandkids grow up. Maybe it's fixing old radios or writing letters or tending a flower bed. It doesn't have to be big. But it has to matter to you. Because once you lose your why, your legs forget how to move. And don't let anyone fool you. Loneliness kills faster than cigarettes. I've seen it. People retire, lose their social circles, sit in front of a TV, and think they're resting. But what they're really doing is fading away. We were made to connect. To talk. To laugh. To argue even. You stop having conversations, you start forgetting how to be human. And that, my friend, is the beginning of the end. Now let's talk about pain. Because it comes for us all eventually. The knees ache. The back stiffens. Eyes blur. But pain isn't the enemy. Giving into it is. I know a woman named Ruth. She's had a bad hip for 20 years. Doctor told her to take it easy. She smiled and said, "I'll take it easy when I'm dead." She uses a cane now. Walks slow. But she still walks. Goes to church. Volunteers at the library. Brings soup to sick neighbors. Pain hasn't stopped her. Because she decided it wouldn't. That kind of grit can't be taught. But it can be chosen. Every day. One little choice at a time. And let me say this. The mind matters just as much as the body. Maybe more. You stop feeding your brain, it starts to shrink. I read every day. Not because I want to be smart. But because I want to stay alive in here. I play cards. I tell stories. I ask questions. I try to learn something new, even if it's just the name of a flower or a recipe from a friend. The minute you stop being curious, you start becoming old. Not in age, but in spirit. And once the spirit gives up, the rest of you won't be far behind. I'm not preaching. I'm sharing. I've lived long enough to bury most of the people I loved. I've had nights where the silence was so heavy, it felt like it would crush me. But I made a choice. Every time I lost someone. Every time my body failed me. Every time I woke up with another wrinkle or another ache. I chose to keep showing up. To keep loving. To keep laughing, even when my heart was breaking. That's not strength. That's survival. That's choosing to live even when it hurts. So if you're wondering why some people make it to 90 and others don't make it past 70, don't just look at their diets or their exercise routines. Look at their eyes. Their hearts. Ask how often they laugh. How often they forgive. How often they risk loving someone, even when they know loss is waiting down the road. That's where the real difference lies. I'm telling you all this because I want you to make it. I want you to wake up at 90 and still feel like yourself. Still have stories to tell. Still be able to look in the mirror and smile, knowing you didn't let the world break you. You bent, sure. We all do. But you didn't break. It's not too late. Whether you're 25 or 65. Start now. Forgive someone. Call an old friend. Take a walk. Learn something new. Laugh louder. Love harder. Don't wait for life to slow down. Run after it. Even if your knees hurt. Even if your heart's been broken a dozen times. That's how you stay strong. That's how you make it. Not just to 90. But to the kind of life worth living at any age. Now, let's clear some common questions. Can embracing aging instead of fearing it actually extend life, simply by softening the spirit instead of hardening it? I've lived long enough to watch time etch its mark on my skin, my bones, and my memories. And if there's one truth I've learned walking through the decades, it's this. Aging is not the enemy. The fear of aging is. People get it backwards. They think growing old is a punishment. They look at wrinkles like they're cracks in their worth. They talk about memory lapses like it's the beginning of the end. And I'll tell you this. That fear they carry, that dread of getting old, it does more damage than age ever could. It hardens people. It makes them bitter. It pulls their spirit into a tight little knot. And a tight spirit cannot breathe. It cannot heal. And in time, it cannot live. I've seen folks grip onto youth like it's a rope keeping them from falling. They dye their hair, hide their scars, and pretend their best days are behind them. Every birthday feels like a step closer to something dark. But the truth is, when you fight aging, you're fighting a part of yourself. You're fighting the very thing that proves you made it. That you've lived. That you've survived. Embracing age doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the fear and making peace with the fact that life moves forward, not backward. When you do that, something beautiful happens. Your spirit loosens. It softens. And in that softness, there is room for joy to breathe. I remember a man named Walter. He was a few years younger than me, but you'd never guess it by how he carried himself. Always worried about his appearance. Always talking about the past like it was a lost treasure. He spent so much energy mourning what he wasn't anymore that he never noticed what he still was. Sharp. Capable. Loved. But that fear of aging turned him into a shell. And the more he resisted it, the more he seemed to fade. His eyes lost their spark. His voice lost its laughter. He died younger than any of us expected. Not because his body gave up, but because his heart had long since stopped dancing. Now let me tell you about someone else. My old friend Evelyn. She was 91 when she passed. But right up until the end, she lived with this light in her. She had wrinkles so deep they could have told stories on their own. But she wore them like medals. She used to say, "Every line is a place I've laughed or cried or loved." She never tried to pretend she was young. She embraced every season of her life like it was a gift. And you could feel it when you were near her. A gentleness. A calm. That kind of peace only comes when you stop fighting time and start walking alongside it. That's what I mean when I talk about softening the spirit. Life will bend you. No doubt about that. But if you let it bend you instead of break you, if you stay open instead of bracing yourself for every little change, you'll find there's still so much beauty left in this world for you. And the strange thing is, that openness, that softness, it has a way of keeping you here longer. Not just in years, but in presence. In awareness. In the simple joy of being alive. I've come to believe that fear, especially fear of aging, is a slow poison. It steals your laughter. Your curiosity. Your willingness to try new things. And without those things, the days get heavy. The air gets still. The heart gets tired. But when you embrace aging, when you accept that your body is changing and your role in the world is shifting, something inside you stays young. Not young like a teenager, but young like the wind. Free. Moving. Full of wonder. People think embracing aging means settling down and fading quietly. But I say the opposite is true. When you stop wasting energy pretending to be young, you free up space to actually live. To pursue things you never had time for. To connect deeper. To listen better. To forgive. To appreciate small things like the way tea tastes in the morning or how good it feels to sit in the sun. And those moments, they stack up. They feed your soul. And a well-fed soul carries the body further than you'd believe. I've watched people become softer as they aged and live longer than anyone expected. Not just years, but with a fullness most folks never touch even in youth. And I've seen others harden. Resist. Rage against the passing years. They burn out. And it's not always because of illness. Sometimes it's because they stopped letting life in. They shut the door too early. So yes, I do believe embracing aging can extend your life. Maybe not always in numbers, but certainly in quality. In depth. In meaning. And sometimes, when you stop fearing death, it has a way of stepping back and letting you be. There's something in the body that responds to a peaceful spirit. The heart beats easier. The muscles relax. The immune system stops sounding the alarm all the time. It's as if your cells can sense whether you're at war with yourself or not. And when you're at peace, they work better. They don't wear out as fast. That might sound strange. But after all I've seen, I believe it. I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. Of course you should eat well. Move your body. Get checkups. But none of that will matter if your soul is carrying fear like a weight. You have to put that weight down. You have to make peace with the mirror. With the slower steps. With the fact that some memories slip through your fingers. You have to see aging not as a decline, but as a deepening. A ripening of who you are. A chance to become more fully yourself without apology or fear. So here I am. An old man with creaky knees, a memory that sometimes takes the long road, and a heart full of years. And I will tell you with every breath I've got left. Embrace your age. Let it soften you. Let it open you. Let it remind you that being alive, even with its aches and losses, is still the greatest thing you'll ever do. Don't run from the years. Walk with them. Talk to them. Thank them. And if you do, I promise you this. You'll not only live longer. You'll live better. Fuller. Wiser. And in the end, you'll leave behind something more powerful than a number on a calendar. You'll leave behind the memory of someone who truly lived. What small daily habits or mindsets separate those who fade away from those who glow well into their later years? Let me tell you something I've come to understand not from reading books or watching others from the sidelines, but by living it day by day. The difference between those who fade away in their later years and those who glow until the very end isn't about luck or fate. It's about small things. Quiet choices. Gentle mindsets. Daily habits that seem so simple at first glance, but over time they become the very fabric of a life that feels full and lit from within. I've watched dear friends grow dim long before their time, not because their bodies gave out, but because their spirits slowly withered from neglect. And I've also watched others, sometimes with more scars and fewer advantages, shine into their 80s and 90s like the sun rising through the fog. The first thing I noticed, and maybe the most important, is the way some people wake up in the morning. It sounds silly, I know. But how you greet the day matters. The ones who glow don't wake up sighing, dragging their feet, already thinking about what's missing or what hurts. They sit up, stretch a little, and say something kind to themselves. Even if it's just, I'm here. I made it another day. That little moment of gratitude sets the tone. It tells the soul, we've still got work to do. We're still living. I've learned that motion is magic. Not big workouts or fancy routines, but just moving. Getting the body going even if it creaks and complains. A short walk to the garden. Reaching up to touch the sky. Bending to tie a shoe. The ones who glow don't let stiffness scare them. They treat their body like an old friend. They listen to it, thank it, and ask it to do what it can. They keep moving, because they know that when the body stops, the spirit tends to follow. And let's not forget the mind. A sharp mind doesn't come from never forgetting names or doing crossword puzzles alone. It comes from being curious. Staying interested in things. The ones who glow ask questions. They read. They wonder. They learn a new word or try to understand the world, even if it's changed faster than they can keep up. They don't get stuck in the idea that the best days were back then. They look forward with the same energy they once used to look back. There's a softness in those who glow. A way of letting go of what doesn't matter and holding on to what does. They forgive easier. Not because forgetting is easy, but because holding on is too heavy. I once knew a man who spent 30 years angry at his brother. 30 years of silence between them. That anger sat in him like a stone. It hardened his face. It tightened his chest. And by the time he wanted to make peace, it was too late. The ones who glow don't wait that long. They speak their hearts. They say I'm sorry. They say I love you. They don't let pride keep them from peace. Another thing I've seen in the glowing ones is how they talk to themselves. You wouldn't think that matters, but it does. They notice their thoughts. They don't let their minds become noisy with fear and worry. When they feel down, they offer themselves kindness, not shame. They say things like, today was hard, but I did my best. That self-talk isn't loud or boastful. It's steady and loving. And that kind of voice, especially when you're alone, can carry you farther than you think. Connection, my friend. That's one of the strongest lifelines of all. The ones who glow don't isolate themselves. They keep reaching out. They say hello to neighbors. They join a group, even if it's just a circle of folks who meet for coffee. They write letters. Make phone calls. Smile at strangers. Being seen and heard is like sunlight to the soul. And giving someone else that light in return is just as powerful. The glowing ones know how to enjoy the small things. They savor their tea. They watch birds and marvel like it's the first time. They take pleasure in warm socks, a well-cooked meal, or the sound of rain on the window. They don't wait for big moments to feel alive. They find joy right where they are. And because of that, they carry this quiet happiness that others can feel just by being near them. They also laugh. That might sound strange, but it's true. Laughter keeps the heart open. It softens pain. It connects us. The ones who glow know how to laugh at themselves. They don't take life too seriously. They tell stories. They make jokes. Even when the years bring sadness, they make room for joy. That balance is everything. Another thing. They keep giving. Not big grand things. Sometimes just a kind word. A listening ear. A plate of cookies for the neighbor. A story shared with a younger person. Giving reminds you that you still have value. That you're part of something bigger than yourself. The ones who glow know that as long as they can give, they are still deeply alive. And faith. Not always religious faith, though sometimes it is. But a trust in something greater. A belief that life has meaning, even when it hurts. That there's a rhythm to things. A reason to keep going. That kind of trust gives strength when the body is tired and the road feels long. I've lived a long time. I've had days where I felt like I was fading too. But every time I chose to reach out. To move. To forgive. To laugh. To be curious. I felt myself glow just a little more. It's not magic. It's choice. Repeated, steady, quiet choice. Every day. Those small daily habits, those gentle shifts in mindset, they're the difference between dimming out and lighting up the path for others to follow. So if you're wondering how to keep that light burning, even as the years add up, don't wait for some big change. Just wake up and say thank you. Move your body like it matters. Feed your mind like it's hungry. Speak kindly to yourself. Forgive freely. Connect with others. Notice the beauty around you. Laugh. Give. And trust. Because those who glow aren't glowing by accident. They're glowing because they've made peace with life. And they've chosen, again and again, to live it with their whole heart. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel, so until next time, take care.